All right, I think we can get started. A lot of people are coming in as we're going to go on. So first and foremost, welcome everybody to our first Dev Talk of the year. I'm Gus Oliveira. I'm going to be your host. And with me, we have Alison Mello, one of the co-founders and the CMO for Back4App, and Alex, the architect, someone that needs no introductions, as I'm sure you guys have seen all of Alex's videos on our YouTube channel and follow along with everything that he does, you know, with daily videos, with tutorials, and what's going on with the app development game in the world today. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about containers platforms and containers as a service. And what we're going to do is this first part of the webinar, we're just going to give a general overview of what it is, what it does. We don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm sure a lot of you guys already know what it does. We're going to, just talk about benefits, for example. And then Allison's going to talk a little bit about what we have in store for our platform, where we are, where we're going, what we plan on doing for the upcoming future. Alex is going to do a quick demo. So for you guys that haven't really gotten started or have any doubts on how to get started, Alex is just going to go very quickly through it. And then the best of all, we're going to do an open Q&A. So we received a few questions through email, through our social media. And at any time you guys want to ask a question, have any doubts, please feel free to put it in our webinar chat or the Q&A portion of the webinar. Also, this event, as you can see, is being recorded, and we're going to share it with everyone at the end of the presentation. Okay. So getting started, just to talk a little bit about containers as a service, what it does, and what you guys can expect from a container as a service platform. So a container as a service platform is a type of cloud-based platform that allows you to manage, to deploy, and to run containerized applications, all in a secure and, most importantly, scalable environment. What this means that all the infrastructure, servers, storage, and network resources, they are all managed and maintained by the provider, which in this case is us. And the good thing is that, with us taking care of that side, you guys can all focus on the management and deployment of the containers. Now, the good thing is that this makes it easier for developers and companies all over the world to not only deploy, but also to manage the application in a cloud environment, as well as providing a much greater efficiency and obviously cost saving compared to your traditional on-premises deployment. Now, what does all of this mean? What are the benefits of using this type of platforms? One of the first things that everybody knows is scalability. By using a platform like this, you'll be able to easily scale all of your applications, and not only scale them up, but also scale them down, in case you need it as your demand arises. Another thing is the increased efficiency. Because of the platform is going to automate pretty much all of the manual tasks that are involved in deploying and managing and scaling containers. This is going to reduce a lot of time, a lot of effort on the developer's part and the company's part. Another benefit that we have is the improved security. Because the container platforms, they provide secure environments, including secure networks, access, controls, and isolation between containers. The security aspect of using the container platform is much greater than otherwise. Another thing he's going to have is cost saving, because you're only going to pay for resources that you use instead of having to invest and maintain your own infrastructure. another great benefit that we're actually just talking about a couple of days ago is the flexibility that you're going to have. Since you're going to be able to choose all of the tools and all of the services that are more appropriate for your applications, this flexibility is going to make a great difference in your process. And lastly, but not least, we're talking about performance, because what good is any platform if it doesn't give you performance and availability? And with our platform, we're using all of our experience and all of our expertise that we have with running apps in over 200 countries to deliver all the top-notch performance with our robust infrastructure, and all of this experience that we've had over the last 10, 15 years. Now, with all of that in mind, is the reason why we created Backrep Containers. And one of the people responsible for this is Allison. Allison is the brain. This is Allison's brainchild, and he's the one behind the whole operation. So what I wanted to ask Allison, so you guys can have an idea, Allison, is what is the purpose of creating a tool such as Backrep Containers? What is its goal? What's Backrep Containers bringing to the table when it comes to DevOps and the development process?
Hey guys, thank you for the question, Gus. First of all, I'd like to say hello to everybody, and it's very, very good to see you guys here. Since it's been a while since we had our last webinar, so yeah, pretty excited to have you guys here. So answering your question, I would like to first discuss the motivation for creating this containers platform. So we had a couple of users coming from past platforms like Heroku, who asked us for a better user experience, predictable pricing as they scale. So a couple of challenges they were facing on those platforms. That's when everything began. So we just realized that, well, given our expertise in developing the first product, the backend product, we felt that it's our responsibility to help these users, to help them solve this problem. So and then we started research using a lot of platforms and make a lot of customer meetings with customers. And we noticed that many users face a challenge when deploying their code to production. Even with a lot of tools available, plenty of competitors, we saw that there was a space, there was like a room for improvement. So to address this challenge, we decided to start containers. And the main idea is to bridge the gap. In a general view, is to bridge the gap between development and production. So how is the most effective way to bring your code from development to production and make this code with a great performance in the end and with a great scalability. So our containers allow developers to focus on their code without worrying about setting up servers, configuring environments like development, QA, staging, production, or dealing with a pipeline, CI/CD tools. So that's the general idea, how we can streamline all this process and make this easier for you. So in this way, you can deploy your code with ease and get your applications running quickly. So at Backrep, we already deliver applications running code around the globe. This previous experience is helping us to shape this new product. and do the same with your code, like make your code run with the scalability and performance around the globe at the end. So basically, containers simplify the code shipping process, delivering it with performance and scalability. That's the main idea. And I would like to say that we're still starting. We are in beta and working a lot on containers, but our goal is to make this code shipping process better and become a go-to tool for developers everywhere.
All right. All right, great. Now, Allison, when we're talking about, let's say, a timeline of what's going on and what's been going on with backprep containers, as you mentioned, we're still in beta testing. We're still in the initial stages of the platform, but everyone can already see the strides we've made with the platform over such short a period of time since we started with the closed beta test. What's in store for the platform for short-term, medium-term, and long-term range? What can our users expect for the future of?
Well, thank you for the question, because you have been cut it off a bit during your speak, so I could understand. I would like to ask you guys if you can just make comments available or through our webinar chat, because I believe comments are not available. But okay, answering your question about containers, yeah, we are just starting now, as I said, and receiving a lot of feedbacks. We had planned a roadmap for this product, but as you may know, everything changes after you go to production, after you start receiving feedbacks from users who are using the product in production. And yeah, but I would say that today we had on our top one priority delivering essential tools like container metrics, speed, RAM, bandwidth, all the metrics related to the container, custom domain, and more options to customize the deployment. So that's the priority right now and the short term. In the medium term, after we receive a lot of asks from our users, we are evaluating a lot to abstract the Docker file from the process. So I believe that in the medium term we should tackle this and remove Docker file from the deployment process. And also in the medium term, we are planning to launch new services like database, background jobs, and other kind of services that are not available today. And of course, users are asking for those services in order to run their complete product with us. And looking to the future, the ultimate goal is to provide developers with an easy tool for configuring the development environments and pipelines with a focus on delivering high performance code. Actually, we have a lot of things, but I cannot precise because it's like far away what will be developed in the long term. But that's our vision, and that's where we want to go. And yeah, I think that in summary is mainly this. And of course, things can change as we are going to hear our users, we are going to hear you, everything can change. So that's the main message. We are going to build the product for you, so you guys will define the roadmap for this product.
All right, great. Now, I'm sure now what everybody wants to do is see a little bit of the tool and how it works. So, Alex, what do you say? You want to do a quick share your screen and do a quick demo for everybody that's participating today?
Hey, hello everyone. First, I would like to thank everyone here in this call. I'm pretty sure this is the biggest number of attendees we ever had in a webinar. So this is so cool for us to see the response from our public. So thank you everyone who joined, who took the time to watch this. I really appreciate your participation. And well, let me share my screen, guys. There you go. Can you guys see it? Good.
Yes.
So this is my Backfrap dashboard, the dashboard that you guys who worked with parts are used to see. And there are two ways you can get to Backfrap containers from here. And by the way, I'm sorry I'm looking this way. My monitor is over here and my camera is over there. So I have to keep looking on both ways. And well, if you want to create your first Backfrap containers app, you can come up here to the dashboard menu and click containers. This will bring you to the Backfrap containers where you can create a new app by clicking this create new app button here. Oops. And you can also go to create a new Backfrap containers app by clicking this build new app button here and choosing container as a service here. This will start as if you click that create new app button on the dashboard for Backfrap containers. So my favorite route is just going here and going to the containers dashboard so I can see a list of my containers. I don't have any right now, but we're going to create a new one. And we also are going to need a connection to our GitHub, where we are going to deploy our Docker file and our application. Here I have my first container repo. This is an open repo. I'm always changing this. If you guys are watching the YouTube series, I keep changing this almost every day. And if you are interested in a specific technology or a specific stack and you want to know how to create a Docker file for your technology or your stack, please be sure to go to our YouTube channel and check, because I'm putting new content again every single day. So perhaps your technology or stack is already covered. If it's not, you can always leave a comment on YouTube. We do our best to create the videos to your specific case, because it can help more people as well. So in here, we are going to create the Docker file. And just to show how easy it is to use a base image, I also created this base image inside Backfrap in repo inside Docker Hub, which has a Nginx web server running, and we'll be deploying this today. If you saw the video from yesterday in the channel, we used ChatGPT to write a Docker file for this specific image. If you didn't, be sure to watch. And we will also be using ChatGPT to create new Docker files. It has been awesome to use that tool. So back to my GitHub here, we're going to add a new file, create new file, and call this file Docker file. Remember, it must be named Docker file with a capital D. If you name it differently or if you change the uppercase, it will not work, because Backfrap containers will look for this specific file. So Docker file. And here we're going to use our first command in our Docker file, which is from. From specifies the base image that we're going to use, and in this case, we're going to use Backfrap/Nginx. I like to copy and paste so I don't have any typos in there. So there you go. And as I created this image myself, I know I exposed Nginx in port 8080. So I'm going to export that to Backfire containers as well. You can always know the port that you exposed if you created the image yourself. And if you didn't, you can always run it locally and check the documentation of the image, or perhaps the logs in your local Docker to identify which port you should expose. In last case, if you didn't if you were not able to find which port you should expose, you can always rely on our super customer support, which can help you with that. So once again, I know that it's port 8080, so expose 8080. I'm going to scroll down and commit this file. So we can open the file just to check its contents. There you go. It seems correct to me. So back to Backfire containers, I'm going to create a new app. In here, it will list all my GitHub repos because I already authorized this. If you don't see your GitHub repo in here, all you have to do is to click this Edit GitHub Permissions. And in here, you'll find a Install button. If you click Install, it will ask for authorization for your access to your GitHub. Once you authorize that, you'll be good to go and your repos will show up here. So once again, I'm going to use my first container, select, and here we can set up our app. First is the app name. I'm going to call my app Nginx. In here, you can set the branch into your GitHub repo where your Docker file will be contained. In my case, it is in the main branch. So if you have multiple branches, so for instance, you have a branch for development and a branch for production, you can create multiple containers that deploy those branches specifically. Also in here, you have to set in which directory inside your branch is located your Docker file. As you saw, my Docker file is directly inside the first container. So it will be /, which means the root folder for the repo. If you put your Docker file in a subfolder, you have to specify the subfolders in here as well in order for Backfire containers to find your Docker file. And then you have auto deploy. Auto deploy is a resource that will identify new commits to this specific branch and start a new deploy automatically in Backfire containers. This is useful for a few applications, but not for every single application. For instance, if you have a development application and you want to always have the latest deploy of your GitHub branch into Backfire containers so developers and testers can test it as soon as it goes to that branch, you should leave this on. But this is not very interesting to turn it on for production environments, because imagine that you have a commit to your branch that breaks the execution of your code. If you leave this on for the production, it will automatically deploy the code as soon as you commit the code to GitHub, and it will break your production. So myself, I like to leave it on for development and testing purposes and turn it off and manually deploy on production environments. But at the end, it's up to you to decide the strategy you're going to use. And last but not least, you can set environment variables. My specific image doesn't use any environment variables, but if you use environment variables to set up your application or the installment of new software for your application, you can put it in here. So I'm going to use an example, so example, and in here you can put a value. So I'm going to put my value. As you can see, it's hidden. If you want to see it, you can click this little icon of an eye here. It will show it up. And you can add as many as you want or need in order for your application to run. It works exactly the same as any Linux-based operational system environment variables. You can read it from the Docker file and from inside the container, and this gives you a lot of flexibility on setting up the specificities of your application. So right now I'm going to delete this and click Create App. So this will bring me to my Nginx application and start a real-time logging of my deployment. As you can imagine, as I'm using as a base image that I already built, this was really fast. So as you can see, the logs exposed port 8080 for me over here. And the message that you're looking for in here is deployment ready. This means that my deployment was successful. You can also check this by this green mark here saying available. It means the process went well and my container is accessible. Now, if you have any errors when trying to deploy, and this happens a lot, especially if you're new to Docker, any errors will be exposed in here. And once again, if you don't know how to fix those errors, you can rely on our customer support to assist you how to fix those. Now, if I want to see my application running, all I have to do is to click this green link over here, which I can also add to my DNS as a CNAME entry, so I can point to this address. And if I click this, there you go, I have Nginx running from Backfrap containers. This was really, really fast. Now back to my Backfrap containers dashboard, there are some other information that you want to check from here. The deployments menu will contain all the deployments done for this app since its creation. So if I have multiple deploys over time and I want to check a specific one for its logs and see how that specific deploy went, all I have to do is go to my list of deployments in here, click, and you'll have a full history of the deployment for that specific deploy. And also I have my log section. This is just an application container. I don't have any logs in here right now. But if you have any application that you wrote yourself and you want to log to the console, all those logs will also show up here in real time. So for instance, if you're running a Node.js application and you use the console logger or console error inside your application, all those logs will show up here in real time, making it really easy to debug your application and see how it's behaving to end users. Last but not least, you have the settings page, which will allow you to set to reset all the settings that we just did when creating the app. So if you want to add or remove environment variables, if you want to change the branch, if you want to change auto deploy, or even if you need to delete this application for some reason, all you have to do is to click the delete button and it will delete your app. So you can have as many apps and as many containers as you want or need for your operation to go. And I really encourage you to try out this tool because it has been awesome, the response that we've got from the community, because this is something that gives back to users who lost, especially the users who lost their free accounts on Heroku, to find a new place to go. So this is pretty much what I have for today. Once again, this was a very simple Docker file to show how the basics works. If you need a more complex Docker file or if you want a specific use case, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you to write your Docker files. And remember, you can always check our YouTube channel for the sample Docker files that we already created. We have lots of content in there and growing every single day. So this is pretty much what I have to show you for today. And I think we can open up for questions now. What do you think, Gus?
Yeah, that's perfect. So we're getting a lot of questions. We got a lot of questions through emails. And one of the first questions that I want to check with you, Alex and Allison, is from Ed. Ed sent us questions through email, and it's actually a two-part question. First, he asked, there are a few large competitors in the backend as a service marketplace, such as Amplify, Firebase, and etc. What are the what advantages would I get or would I gain with containerized parsed implementation, and what are the disadvantages?
Just a second, because I'm just typing an answer I got here on the Q&A. There we go. Sorry for that. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, not a problem. So Ed asked, there are a few large competitors in the backend as a service marketplace, such as Amplify and Firebase. What advantages would I gain from a containerized parse implementation, and what are the disadvantages?
All right. Now, if you're thinking about running parse containerized, there are a few advantages and a few disadvantages as well. So Backfire provides parse as a platform as a service. And through the years of serving this platform, we learned a lot from our users. So we added up some proprietary features in the parse product that we offer that we believe that adds value to the end product. So for instance, we have our index optimizer that runs automatically. It's an AI that we built in-house that accelerates queries by quite a lot. So if you try to run parse containerized from the parse open source yourself, you'll be missing out for these proprietary features and optimizations that we do on this platform as a service product. But on the other hand, you can have some benefits as well. For instance, one very common request that we have on the platform as a service parse product is that users want to add some functionalities by adding some software. And this is not really possible on free plans in Backfire because you are you're running your application into a shared server. So every software that I install for one user will hit more users as well. So the only way for you to have custom software installed in the platform as a service parse product in Backfire is to having a dedicated server. And if you run it containerized yourself, as you create your Docker file, you can install anything that you want or need in order for your application to run. A very common software that people ask is FFmpeg, so they can encode videos. And once again, with the platform as a service, this would require a dedicated server, while in the containerized application, you can just install it and run it yourself.
All right, perfect. Now, the second question was, what type of scale of project best fits with the containers approach? If I'm building an MVP that will take a while to scale, why would I choose this approach over any other?
All right, so let's think a little bit first about the containerization process. By having an application containerized, it doesn't mean it's automatically scalable. It means it's just a solid unit containing all the software and requirements for that application to run. So if you have an application that's taking a while to scale, something is wrong with it, or perhaps with the approach taken with it. Because if you're running containerized applications, the containers should be efficient and light so they can rise, spin up, serve its purpose, and then die very, very fast. So you can spin up more containers as your traffic asks or needs. So if you're running any kind of application that is taking a while to I'm sorry, I just missed the word, to scale up. So you should probably rethink your architecture and perhaps divide your application in multiple containers, being sure that it can scale up faster. So I hope this is quite a tricky question. I hope this answers your question. But just by going containerizing your application, it doesn't mean it will automatically scale up faster. So you have to rethink your architecture in order for your containers to be lighter, and they will be able to scale faster. Hopefully this answers your question.
Now, one of the questions here from our Q&A, Etham asked, can we use private Docker repositories to pull from?
Well, I never tried that myself, as I use mostly Backfire account containers, so I never had to authenticate. So I'm guessing if you try to use a private Docker Hub repository in order to spin up your containers, you face some identifications. But let me just check the question really quickly. Open. So the FM, I think I spelled their name correctly. If I'm not, I'm sorry for that. When you say private Docker repositories, you mean Docker Hub repositories for the images, or you say GitHub repositories with your Docker file? Because if you're going to use GitHub private repositories, then yes, once you authorize it with the Backup containers, it will just work. But if you're going to use Docker Hub repositories for pre-built images, in this case, I'm assuming you'll find some authentication problems, as Backfrap won't be able to log into your private Docker Hub account to bring out that container. In this case, what you can do is to have a public Docker Hub image containing only the base system for your image that does not compromise your private data. And once that is delivered, then you can use the data from GitHub to deliver the application itself. So suppose you have a Docker file that has a Ubuntu-based image with a Nginx server and perhaps a few firewall rules set. You can just leave this part as a Docker Hub image pre-built, so you have a very, very fast build of the image and deployment to Backfrap containers, but all the application itself, the settings, and the business intelligence of the application delivered to GitHub. And then once you build the container, you pull that from your private repo in GitHub. This would be my strategy.
All right, great. Now, another question that we have here from our Q&A, excuse me, the person asking is as an anonymous, and he wants to know, would you consider using cryptocurrencies as a payment method?
This I can handle. Actually, crypto is not an official payment method for us today. Of course, we are monitoring the market, and we are checking the possibilities. And what we usually do is to analyze case by case. So if you want to pay with crypto, please leave a message for us, and we are going to check. But the official answer today is no, but we can analyze, of course.
All right, great. Now, next question came from one of our Twitter followers, and he wants to know, might containerization go away due to WASM or WebAssembly?
Well, this is something interesting, because people usually think that WebAssembly or WebASM will replace containers, and those are actually two different beasts. You can actually use WebAssembly and containers together. Remember, a container is a way for you to package and deploy your software application and all dependencies for that in a single unit, while WebAssembly is a binary instruction for a stack-based virtual machine. So they can serve the same purpose, but not necessarily they do. You can, for instance, have a Docker container that spins up a WebAssembly stack and serves a WebAssembly application inside it. So I don't think they really compete. They actually complement each other.
All right, great. Now, one of our users, Mateo, he asked us a question through email. He wants to know if will containers support WebSockets at some point?
Well, once again, I never tried that specifically myself, but I don't see why it wouldn't. The only thing that you should try out is, remember that the health check for the containers in Backfrap containers will hit an exposed port and see if that port responds. So as long as your WebSocket is able to answer in that port a signal for backfrap container that the container is actually running, I'm pretty sure it will work. Now, I'm sorry, guys. What's the name of that person again?
Mateo.
Mateo, if you're watching this, be sure to reach out to me. We can try that together and perhaps make a YouTube video for it.
That's awesome, Alex. If not, I'll send you Mateo's email and we can reach out to him so we can put you guys in touch.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Next questions from our email. Rohan asked, how can containers as a service be used in conjunction with serverless computing to create a more dynamic and scalable application?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good one. So once again, a few people get confused and think that containers are there to replace the serverless computing, which is totally not. So what I would think is you can have the containers to serve parts of your application and the serverless computing to serve other parts of your application. Because you got to remember, serverless computing, especially serverless functions, are a set of serverless code that are aimed to scale up and down automatically accordingly to demand. While containers per se are not scalable per se. You have to find out the traffic patterns in order for you to scale even in real time, or perhaps in advance, depending on the type of traffic that you're trying to reach. So you could code your application in a way that parts of it that does not demand scalability or that can have predictable scalability into a containerized way, and all the parts that need real-time scalability could be coded out as serverless functions. So these are two technologies that can work together and give you the best scenario of both. Also, you could check out the pricing strategies for both and see which one best fits our needs. Usually, as I see in the market, having scalable serverless functions is usually cheaper, but also more limited than using containers. Once again, containers allow you to practically run anything inside it, while serverless functions do not. So I would try to use the most of what I could into serverless functions because it's automatically scalable up and down and somewhat limited on resources, but all the other resources that do not need scalability or have predictable scalability, I would use containers because that would give me more flexibility, such as installing other software and setting it up to my likings.
Right, great. Now, Ed Ellenberg is asking here in the Q&A, how can I monitor a container's usage, such as data transfer?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
I got it.
Okay, you got it? How can I monitor a container's usage, such as data transfer?
Yeah, as I said, this is our top one priority right now. We are just working on metrics so you can monitor the containers usage, like bandwidth, CPU, memory, everything else, all the parameters. Today, you cannot, but we can, if you need it, just drop us an email and we can send you a report. But yeah, this feature is it's under development with our product team, and we'll be releasing it in the next a few weeks.
Oh, that's good to know. But at the same time, if you really need that right now, you can always install some monitoring software into your container through the Docker file, and then perhaps check it through there.
All right, Alex, next question comes from Dirk Jochems. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, Dirk. How does the container scale? Does it add new instances when the memory runs out? Or is there another way, or maybe multiple ways?
Well, there are multiple ways for scaling up a container. We use a few metrics that we collect on the container, not just the memory. We also check the processor usage and things like that, but those are internal data. So we are always watching those. And once again, it actually depends on the behavior of the container itself. If you have a very heavy container, even if it doesn't use as much memory, but uses lots of CPU, we would have to scale it based on that metric only. So there are different strategies for scaling up and down. Uh, those are quite technically advanced, and we collect all these metrics internally. Those are not available at this time for you guys to see. But this is the basic strategy. So we collect different metrics about the container, and then we raise up new containers as needed.
All right, Alex, now we have a great question that came from Rohan again via email. And he wants to know, what role can machine learning and artificial intelligence play in optimizing container utilization and performance?
Oh, that's a good one. Once again, if you guys didn't check the ChatGPT video for creating Docker files that we published yesterday, it's quite simple, but we're going to follow that route because I really think ChatGPT is doing a great work, and I'm using it in a daily basis in my job. So, but anyways, for containers specifically, well, there are many things that AI and machine learning can do for container. Specifically at this point, I'm aiming at predictability of traffic. AI and machine learning are very good ways for you to investigate through history of traffic and then predict that traffic in the future. So it can find usage patterns and predict those patterns before they happen, so it can scale up and down in advance, which can save a lot of money. So instead, for instance, of having a multiple containers launch 1 hour prior to the peak usage of your platform, just be sure it will be spin out and able to respond to all your users. An AI and machine learning aimed at this task could launch those containers exactly in the correct moment, so you don't have to pay extra to have more containers running prior to serve all your users. It could know in advance that you're going to have more traffic in a few minutes, then spin up all those containers, check if everything is running correctly, serve all those users, and as soon as the users start to drop the usage, it would start dropping the containers and saving you a lot of money. This is one of the use case, but there are many others. So one thing that I see by quite a lot, since Backfrap containers is quite new, but I see this almost every day, is people trying to add more packages they needed for the container to work. And this makes a container harder to load, slower to load, and more heavy to run over time. So you need more containers to run the same application. And using machine learning and AI to investigate those Docker files and check if everything in there is really needed for your operation and optimizing the Docker file itself, it would be a very good strategy as well, because you end up with lighter containers, which means they spin up faster, they serve your users faster, and you need less containers to serve the same number of users.
Yeah, just complementing the answer, another usage I see, which because today we have like AI, it's very broad. Like what you can do with AI, it's still in the beginning and it's very broad. But today, what I see, another option for optimizing the usage is just analyze your code and suggest optimizations on your code so you can run with the same containers or even with a smaller container, but with a code optimized, you can reach more performance and deliver more performance to your users. So this is another option you have, another usage you can have for AI and yeah, containerization.
All right. Now, one more question. Ed asked, do you plan to have more container options, such as more CPU, but low data transfer?
I'll leave that one to Alison.
Sorry, guys, can you repeat, please?
Okay, Ed wants to know do you plan to have more container options, such as more CPU, but low data transfer and vice versa?
Yeah, we had, I don't know if you guys had a chance to check out our pricing page. We have launched a couple of options, mainly related to CPU, memory, and bandwidth. We are collecting data from users and we do not have an answer, but we want to be flexible in terms of plans and what you can do with containers. And if you had any specific request regarding a specific plan, for example, let us know because we are still learning from you, of course, and that will help us to shape this pricing and the number of plans, the kind of plans. So everything will be user driven. So yeah, let us know. Drop us a message at community@backrep.com and we will analyze your requests and create a custom plan for you.
All right. Now, one more question that came from our email is, are there any security challenges associated with containers, and what steps can be taken to mitigate them?
Well, there are a few, and depending on which one you want to focus, there are different strategies for that. But for instance, we can name container vulnerability. Like every time you build a container, you're actually creating a minified version of a virtual machine. And as such, you have all possible attacks from inside that one container. One very common case is privilege escalation, which is when a user is able to override the privileges set for that one user and then get administration privileges. This is something that must be watched. Then we have data security. You've got to remember that containers are designed to be lightweight and ephemeral. So the data which is stored into those containers is often temporary. And how you're going to deal with that data may pose as a challenge for data security because sensitive information may be lost or stolen if not handled properly. So this is something that you will actually have to watch for as well. For business clients, another data security issue to consider is compliance. Especially if you're into the European Union region, you've got to remember that you are required to comply with GDPR. So how you're going to make your container compliant to these standards is also a security issue that you have to watch for. And last but not least, I would say perhaps access control. How the data and the container itself is handled, who has access to it, and how you prevent unauthorized access to the data and to the container itself. Those are, in summary, I guess, the most common security issues you have to watch for. And once again, in here in Backfrap, we have people with lots of expertise in handling this kind of situation. So we can assist you to be sure, to ensure that you're meeting all these goals. So if you're going to run these containers by yourself into your own machine, this is something you gotta research for and try your best to meet these standards. But here in Backfrap Containers, we have people specialized in security that can handle this kind of optimizations for you and at least guide you on the correct direction.
All right, great. Guys, just to let you guys know that I put the link to Alex's video about using ChatGPT on Backfrap Containers on the chat window. So if you guys want to check that out later. And one other question that we got, Alex, we got from Andre through LinkedIn. How do I deploy Python to Backfrap?
Well, you will need to create a container that has Python installed in it. You can use a base container. I think we have in Docker Hub a few options for delivering Python, or you can install it yourself with a Linux-based image. The only thing you got to remember, if you just put in there the operational system and Python, your container will probably not run, as once again, you have to pass through the health check for Backfrap containers. So you need to expose one port and have some application being served on that port. If you can do that, then you're good to go with Python.
All right, great. All right, guys, we're coming up to the end of our time limit. I want to first of all thank you, Alex and Allison, for taking time out of your day to help us with this DevTalk, the first one of the year. We're definitely going to have more. We're going to try to have them at least once a month. And of course, thank you everyone that took time out of your day. I know we have people from all over the world with different time zones, and we had a timing difference in the US because of the daylight savings times that took over this past weekend. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us. If you guys would like any more information, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, email Allison, and email Alex. And as you guys know, we have a killer support team that some of them are actually here joining us, such as Natalia and Charles, and they're always here to help you guys out. So if at any time you guys have any questions, any concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here for you. And our goal is to make our platforms better, with your input. So we know exactly what people want and how it works. So once again, thank you guys very much. Have a great remaining of the week and a great weekend.
Yeah, I'd like to say also thank you for joining us today. Our plans is to make this Ask Me Anything and more fireside chats and everything about containers, about backend. And yeah, that's the idea from now. I would like also to invite you guys to jump on our Slack community. We had a specific group to talk about containers over there. So if you take a look there, we are discussing containers on a daily basis, and bring us your questions, your suggestions. And yeah, that's my invitation for you. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. It was awesome. And remember, you can always rely on us to help you build and run your application. If you need anything at all, let us know.